Blood of My Blood has given us some unforgettable moments, but episode 8 felt like a turning point. For the first time this season, the story delivered everything fans had been waiting for. Secrets unraveled. Long-awaited reunions finally happened. And the tension reached levels that made it impossible to look away. When the credits rolled, it wasn't just another episode. It felt like the moment the season finally found its heart. I couldn't help but think to myself, this is the best episode so far. And with episode 9 looming ahead, the stakes are only climbing higher. So let's break it all down. We'll look at the twists and turns of episode 8, and then dive into the trailer for episode 9, which teases rebellion, escape, and the possibility of devastating heartbreak. Right from the start, one storyline grabbed everyone's attention: Ellen's ordeal. Watching her suffer through that humiliating exam was agonizing. The scene stretched on painfully long, and it wasn't just about the physical act itself. It was about what it represented. The complete lack of power women had in that time. The way they were treated as property to be examined, judged, and traded. Ellen stood in that room surrounded by men who saw her as an object, not as a human being. And the show forced us to sit with her pain in that moment. She had no one on her side except Mrs. Fitz. That isolation made the scene even harder to watch. What should have been private became a public display of control. And just when it felt unbearable, Julia stepped in with her quiet but clever plan. Using ingredients she described as those used for pickling meat, she managed to help Ellen pass the test by tightening the tissues just enough to fool the physician. It was shocking, clever, and also a reminder of Julia's courage and resourcefulness. She risked everything to protect Ellen. Without her, Ellen's life would have been destroyed in front of everyone. This moment raised another question, though. What does it mean for Ellen's future? Passing that test secured her in the short term, but it also tied her fate more tightly to Malcolm Grant. And speaking of Malcolm, we need to talk about him. From the very beginning of the season, Malcolm has been different from his father. He's shown Ellen respect, spoken kindly to her, and even looked like he genuinely cared. In many ways, he seems like a man caught between his duty to his family and his feelings for Ellen. But here's the problem. If the truth about Ellen's past had come out, would he still be this kind, sympathetic man? Or would he have sided with tradition and honor, turning against her without a second thought? That uncertainty makes him such a fascinating character. He feels like both an obstacle and a potential ally. He's in love with Ellen, but he's also the barrier keeping her from being with Brian. His relationship with Henry only complicates things further. He's clearly impressed by Henry's skill and dedication, which makes him want Henry close by for years to come. For Henry, though, that admiration only feels like a prison. He wants freedom, not a lifetime of servitude under the Grants. And if he's going to escape, he'll need a plan that Malcolm never sees coming. But Malcolm isn't the only side character who stood out in this episode. Dana Porter surprised me as well. Earlier in the season, she seemed suspicious. Her intentions weren't clear, and her loyalty was always in question. But in these later episodes, she's revealed more depth. The shock on her face when she discovered Julia could read, and her realization that Julia knew the secret passages in Castle Leo, gave us a glimpse of her changing perspective. She wasn't just a passive figure anymore. She was someone capable of being moved, someone willing to open her mind. When she promised to look after William after seeing Julia risk her life for Brian, it was a turning point. Dana Porter went from an annoying distraction to a potential ally. And I have a feeling her role will only grow in importance as the story pushes forward. Yet as powerful as those storylines were, nothing could compete with the reunion. Julia and Henry. Last week, I worried that Henry would dismiss his encounter with Julia as nothing more than a dream. And for a moment, the show teased us with exactly that. But thank God they didn't drag it out. The reunion happened, and it was every bit as emotional as fans had hoped. When Julia's hand reached for Henry's face, it was the culmination of all the longing, the danger, and the sacrifice that had built up between them. It was beautiful, but also bittersweet. Because here's the truth. Their reunion may have happened, but their struggles are far from over. The timing of this moment, coming at the very end of episode 8, felt intentional. The show wanted to leave us both satisfied and craving more. They gave us a taste of joy, but they didn't make it easy. They made us wait. And now, as we turn our eyes toward episode 9, that joy feels fragile. The reunion of Julia and Henry may have given us relief, but it also sharpened the sense of danger surrounding them. Their love is fragile, constantly threatened by those around them. Archbug's presence alone casts a shadow. He's always lurking, watching, waiting for Henry to make a mistake. One wrong move and Henry would be dead in an instant. That's why he couldn't just run away with Julia. It wasn't cowardice. It was survival, and Julia herself is trapped in an even more complicated cage. She's now Simon Fraser's wife. That bond is not only socially binding, but politically powerful. If she were to suddenly vanish, the consequences would ripple far beyond her own life. People would come looking, families would clash, armies might even take notice. Julia knows this, and it's why she cautions patience. Running away without a plan would destroy them both. This raises a painful but necessary question. Is their love strong enough to outlast the forces tearing them apart? Or will the world, with all its rules and traditions, crush them before they ever find peace together? The same uncertainty hangs over Ellen and Brian. Many fans have complained that Brian seems too hesitant, too unwilling to act boldly. If this were Jamie, he would have pulled Claire out without hesitation, no matter the danger. But Brian isn't Jamie. His careful nature makes him pause where others would leap. He wants Ellen, but he also wants to protect her in the long run. And that conflict makes him slow to move, even when every part of us is screaming for him to act. Yet hesitation has consequences. And in episode 8, we felt the weight of those consequences. Ellen endured humiliation. Julia risked everything to shield her. Henry faced constant threat. And Brian, torn between love and caution, still couldn't break free of his chains. This is what made episode 8 so powerful. It wasn't just action. It was tension. Every decision felt heavy, every delay risky. The characters are standing on the edge of a cliff, and one misstep could send them crashing down. Which brings us to the episode 9 trailer. The tone shifts dramatically as the focus turns to Brar Castle. The synopsis makes it clear. This isn't just another gathering. This is history in motion. All the Highland clans are called together for the Earl of Mar's annual hunting event. But what should be a display of unity becomes the spark of division. The Earl makes an inflammatory proclamation that ignites the Jacobite rising. He raises the standard to support the exiled Stuart king's return to the throne. And from that moment on, chaos begins. The trailer shows us the scale of what's coming. No longer are our characters only caught in personal struggles. Now, they are swept into the storm of rebellion. Family loyalties, political alliances, and long-simmering tensions all collide at once. The stakes, already high, are about to become life or death for everyone involved. But even within this larger conflict, the personal dramas continue to unfold. Malcolm Grant's uncle warns Ellen not to break Malcolm's heart. It's a chilling threat. If she dares to follow her love for Brian, she won't just face her own family's wrath. She'll face the fury of the Grants as well. That makes her situation even more dangerous. She is surrounded on all sides, and every choice carries consequences. At the same gathering, Julia appears in a stunning dress, carrying William. And then comes one of the most anticipated moments hinted at in the trailer. Henry sees her. That single glance sets the stage for everything. You can almost feel the desperation in him. He wants to reach her, to speak with her, to hold her again. And so he turns to Ned Gowan, seeking help to meet her or escape altogether. But nothing in this story comes easily. The more Henry and Julia try to move toward each other, the more the world conspires to push them apart. And as if that weren't enough, Malcolm Grant himself isn't waiting any longer. He wants marriage, and he wants it immediately. His urgency raises the stakes for Ellen. If she doesn't act fast, her future will be sealed forever, tied to a man she doesn't truly love. Which means Brian must find out. He must know the danger before it's too late. Their window is closing, and the weight of time has never felt heavier. The episode 9 trailer makes one thing clear. We're no longer dealing with private heartbreaks and personal secrets alone. The characters are being pulled into the jaws of history, and the ripple effects of rebellion will leave no one untouched. At Brar Castle, the gathering of clans is meant to be a tradition, but this year it becomes the trigger for war. The Earl of Mar's proclamation ignites the Jacobite rising, and the moment he raises that standard, the world around our characters begins to burn. What began as whispers of tension now explodes into open conflict. and the trailer teases that every one of our main characters is going to be caught in that storm. But rebellion is only the backdrop. The personal confrontations make the threat more intimate. Malcolm Grant's uncle warns Ellen directly. The words are simple, but the meaning is chilling. Do not break Malcolm's heart, or you will regret it. Ellen is already trapped between her duty and her love for Brian. Now the threat expands beyond disappointment or dishonor. Her choices could cost her life. Even as these threats mount, Ellen and Brian find small moments of hope. The trailer suggests the gathering gives them a chance to see each other again. But even this spark of hope carries danger. Simon Fraser is watching. He begins to realize that his son is serious about this girl, and that realization puts Ellen in even greater peril. What Brian sees as love, Simon may see as weakness, and weakness is not something men like him forgive. Meanwhile, Julia stands in the crowd, dressed beautifully, William in her arms. Her presence is a reminder of everything Henry longs for, and Henry, desperate to reach her, turns to Ned Gowan for help. Whether it is a plan to meet in secret or a desperate attempt to flee, Henry's determination is clear. But in this world, determination doesn't guarantee success. The danger of being discovered hangs over every move they make, and then comes the twist that pushes Ellen's story into crisis. Malcolm Grant doesn't want to wait. He wants to marry immediately right after the gathering. That urgency shatters any illusion of time. Ellen can't simply hope for rescue anymore. She needs action. She needs Brian to know the truth before her life is tied to a man she cannot love. The clock is ticking, and every moment lost makes escape more difficult. Elsewhere in the trailer, we see confrontations between Colum and Duall. Colum demands answers. What are you hiding from me? Duall's secret allegiances point toward the Earl of Mar, and the tension between them mirrors the larger storm brewing across the Highlands. Loyalties are fracturing, and betrayal feels inevitable. But perhaps the most chilling glimpse comes in a quiet moment. Brian speaks with Henry, and Julia is nowhere in sight. Her face in another shot shows fear, as though she is running or hiding. She doesn't have William with her. What could this mean? Is she in danger? Has someone uncovered her secrets? The trailer refuses to answer, leaving us with a puzzle that gnaws at the edges of our thoughts. Even Mrs. Fitz adds to the weight of dread. Her warning is simple. One of you will be dead. She speaks to Ellen, urging her to let go of her love for Brian, and in the trailer's closing images, Ellen cries. Not tears of joy, not relief, but deep, aching sorrow, and this is where the theories begin to cut deepest. The final images of the Episode 9 trailer linger like a shadow. Ellen, crying, broken, caught in a moment that feels heavier than anything we've seen before. The question is simple yet devastating. Why is she crying? There are two possibilities. The first is that she weeps because her wedding to Malcolm is drawing near. That alone would be heartbreaking. Being bound to a man she does not love, watched by families who see her only as a pawn, is a cruel fate. The tears could be her way of mourning the life she dreamed of with Brian, a life slipping further out of reach with each passing hour. But the second possibility cuts even deeper. At the end of Episode 8, Mrs. Fitz gave Brian the piece of cloth used during his hand fasting with Ellen. Her words were heavy. If you want what is best for her, leave her alone. To Mrs. Fitz, protecting Ellen's honor and her future meant ending her love with Brian, no matter how painful it would be. What if Brian listened? What if, for the sake of Ellen's reputation and safety, he decides to let her go? That choice would shatter both of them. Ellen's tears could be the echo of that decision, a cry not only of love lost, but of a future destroyed before it ever began. Brian's sense of duty has always made him cautious. If he convinces himself that letting Ellen go is an act of love, it would explain why she is left in despair. This theory is terrifying because it fits so perfectly with the story's themes. Love in this world is never simple. It is always bound to duty, honor, and survival. The idea that Brian might choose Ellen's safety over his own happiness feels tragically believable, and it would leave her facing a future tied to Malcolm Grant, a man she does not want, while the one she truly loves walks away. Yet there's still a glimmer of hope. We know rebellion is breaking out. We know chaos is spreading. And in chaos, there is opportunity. While the trailer teases heartbreak, it also sets the stage for desperate choices. If Ellen and Brian are to be together, if Julia and Henry are to find freedom, it will have to be in the cracks created by rebellion. The The rising storm could tear them apart, or give them the one chance they need to escape. But until episode 9 arrives, all we have are questions. Will Malcolm Grant force Ellen into marriage before Brian can act? Will Henry risk everything to reach Julia, even with Archbug watching? Will Julia's secrets finally be exposed, putting both her and William in danger? And perhaps most chilling of all, will Mrs. Fitz's prophecy come true? Will one of them truly be dead before this story ends? The weight of these questions keeps the suspense alive. Episode 8 gave us triumph, reunion, and heartbreak all in one. Episode 9 promises to push those emotions even further, blending personal tragedy with the thunder of rebellion. And when the next chapter unfolds, it may redefine everything we thought we knew about love, sacrifice, and survival in this world. One thing is certain: the tears we saw in the trailer are not the end of Ellen's story. They are the beginning of the storm.